So picture a scenario that we've probably all been in. You are at a family dinner or maybe, a really tense quarterly review at work.
Oh, yeah, I know the feeling.
Right, and the air is just thick. Someone gets cut off in the middle of a sentence, or maybe a snide comment gets made.
And everyone just aggressively ignores it.
Yes. Just to keep the peace, most of us, we looked at our plates, we check our phones.
We just want to get through the meal.
Yeah.
It is a very human survival instinct, honestly.
Yeah.
You know, you choose comfort over confrontation, the path of least resistance.
Exactly. But there is one specific type of person who physically cannot do that. They are sitting there and they feel that silence like a physical weight on their chest.
They sense the grievance like a radar.
Right, like picking up an incoming missile, and they feel this intense, almost moral compulsion to give that silence a voice. They are the ones who break the seal.
It is not just that they notice it.
Mhm.
It is that they cannot rest until it is fixed. They are the only ones willing to make things messy in the short term to make them right in the long term.
Today, we are decoding that exact person. We are doing a deep dive into the profile known as the FSSN.
Also known as the empathic advocate.
And trust me, if you have one of these people in your life, or if you are realizing right now that you are this person, this is going to be a massive light bulb moment. We are talking about why you are so tired at the end of the day.
It really is. We are looking at a personality architecture that functions as a guardian of the unheard. But as we will see, that guardianship comes with a pretty heavy internal tax on their energy.
And to guide us through this, we are looking at a specific report today from the Max Energy ME80 personality system. Now, before we get into the empathic advocate itself, we need to set the stage. What exactly is this ME80 system? Because it sounds like a high-performance car engine.
In a way, it kind of is. The Max Energy ME80 system isn't just a list of personality traits like, you are shy or you are outgoing. It is a blueprint for human energy. It looks at how we metabolize the world around us.
Metabolize the world. I really like that image. So it is not just about what you are, but how you process things.
Exactly. Think of it as a circuit board. We all take in information, process it, feel something about it, and then act. The ME80 system breaks that loop into 4 distinct layers, or gears, if we use the car analogy.
Okay, what are the gears?
First, the IP layer, how you take information in. Then the IQ layer, how you judge it. The EQ layer, how you decide on it. And finally, manifestation, how you let it out.
So it is a full life cycle of a thought, from the moment it hits you to the moment you do something about it.
Precisely. And for the FSSN, the empathic advocate, that flow creates a very specific, very powerful output.
Let's jump into that identity. The report has a core declaration for the FSSN. It says they are advocates for the hurt and unheard, turning grievance into a demand for respect. That is strong. It doesn't sound passive at all.
It is a mission statement. The FSSN is defined as an empathy-driven guardian. Their primary mechanism is using compassion as a radar and their voice as an action.
Compassion as a radar, that implies they're scanning for something specific. Most people think of empathy as just, crying when someone else cries.
This is different. They are scanning for imbalance. They are exceptionally sensitive to emotions that are overlooked, misunderstood, or suppressed. You know that uneasy feeling you get when you know something isn't fair, but you can't quite put your finger on it.
Sure, the vibes are off feeling.
Right. Well, the FSSN feels that instantly. They sense the grievance before the conflict even erupts. They notice who is shrinking in their chair, who is being talked over, whose eyes look sad, even though they are smiling.
So they are like the canary in the coal mine for relationships.
Better yet, they are the early warning system. Their philosophy, and this is their core control mechanism, is that if emotions are suppressed for too long, the whole system will collapse in the shadows.
Wow.
Yet, whether it's a family dynamic or a corporate team, if people are being disrespected, the FSSN believes order cannot survive.
So it is not just, I feel bad for you. It is, this injustice is going to break everything if we don't fix it.
Exactly. They hold a clear scale of fairness inside them. And when that scale tips, they have to act. They possess a global vision that sees the health of the group as entirely dependent on the response shown to the individual.
Okay, let's look under the hood. We talked about the ME80 energy matrix earlier, IP, IQ, EQ, manifestation. I want to walk through how a single moment of unfairness actually travels through an empathic advocate's brain. Let's say we are at that meeting and a boss takes credit for a junior employee's work.
Perfect example. So it starts with the IP layer, the inner value layer.
Okay.
This is the intake valve. For the FSSN, this is where energy drive activation happens.
And what activates that drive?
Perception. specifically the perception of the environment and the negative space within it. Their intake valve is wide open to emotional data. They don't just hear the boss speaking, they feel the sudden drop in energy from the junior employee.
So while I might be focused on the PowerPoint slides, the FSSN is physically absorbing the emotional reality of the room.
Correct. That is the activation. The energy enters the system because they perceived the suppression. It hits them viscerally.
Okay, so the energy's in. Now it moves to the IQ layer. The report calls this the emotional activation layer.
This is the processor.
Huh.
The function here is experience and verification judgment.
Now, usually when I hear IQ, I think logic, math, facts, but here you are calling it emotional activation.
In the ME80 system, the IQ layer is where we cross-reference incoming data. For the FSSN, they are running a background check. They take that signal, the employee being ignored, and they run it against their internal database of past experiences and their strict code of fairness.
So they are asking, does this match my standard of respect?
Exactly. They are verifying. Is this person being treated with dignity?
Hmm.
Does this violate the social contract? Yes. It is like a judicial review happening in microseconds. They aren't just feeling. They are judging the validity of the situation.
So they have convened a court case in their head, and the verdict is guilty. Now the energy moves to the EQ layer, the decision calculation layer. This sounds like the heavy part.
It is the heavy lifting. The function here is emotional bearing and stability.
Bearing, that is such a specific word.
It is the most accurate word. The FSSN has to actually bear the weight of the emotions they have detected. They don't just let the observation pass through, they hold it. They take on the weight of that junior employee's embarrassment as if it were their own.
Oof, that sounds exhausting. To carry luggage that isn't yours.
It is, but this is also where they calculate. They are the stabilizer. They ask, how do I fix this equilibrium? If I shout, I make it worse. If I stay silent, the injustice stands. What is the precise intervention needed?
So they are carrying the emotional load for the person who was wronged while simultaneously strategizing the rescue mission.
Right. It is the decision engine that says, I cannot stay silent. I need to speak up to fix this balance.
Which leads us to the final step, the manifestation layer, the output.
Energy released outward. This is where the internal process becomes visible action. For the empathic advocate, this manifestation is almost always verbal. It is the act of speaking up, intervening, or mediating.
So they finally interrupt the boss.
Or they speak up in the moment to redirect credit. Actually, I think Sarah had the original data on that point. The report describes this flow as empathy detection to fairness formation to emotional translation and finally driving visibility.
Driving visibility is key. They make the invisible grievance visible to everyone else.
Or turn on the lights in the dark room.
I want to double click on something you just mentioned, emotional translation. The report highlights this as a deep inner trait, because I think there is a misconception that these people are just complainers.
This is the crucial distinction. If you just think of an FSSN as someone who complains, you completely miss their superpower. They are translators.
Translators? How do you mean?
Think about when someone is truly hurt or angry. Their thoughts are chaotic. They might be crying or shouting incoherent things. They aren't making sense. They are just expressing pain.
Right, they are just venting.
The FSSN steps in and organizes the narrative. They act like an editor for the victim's story. They reconstruct the process. They say things like, wait, let's look at where the misunderstanding happened. Here's where this person was overlooked.
So they take the raw, messy emotion and translate it into a logical sequence.
Exactly. They translate I am mad into I felt disrespected when X happened. Their goal is to return the relationship to a track where people are respected. They want to create a shared reality where the grievance is acknowledged so everyone can move on.
That sounds incredibly noble. But walking around with a radar that never turns off, there has to be a cost.
There is a massive cost. Every superpower has a shadow side. The report calls the blind spot here over-advocacy.
Over-advocacy, what does that actually look like?
It is the trap of caring more than the victim does. Because the FSSN absorbs the grievance so deeply, they can end up feeling more angry, more urgent, and more determined to seek justice than the actual person who was wronged.
Oh, I have absolutely seen this. You are venting to a friend about a bad boss just to get it off your chest, and suddenly they are ready to burn the building down, and you're like, whoa, I just wanted a drink, not a revolution.
Exactly. The FSSN keeps mental records. They replay old accounts. The report mentions they will rehearse arguments in the shower, growing more and more indignant the more they think about it.
Ah, the shower arguments, I think we are all guilty of that, but for the FSSN, it sounds like a loop they cannot escape.
It leads to a dangerous pattern. Withdraw first, then erupt.
Withdraw first. I would have guessed they explode immediately.
No, because remember that EQ layer? Emotional bearing. They are trying to hold it. They try to bear the weight, hoping the other person will fix it, hoping respect will naturally appear. They go quiet to process.
They are steering.
They're building a pressure cooker, and if the resolution doesn't come, the dam breaks. They explode with an intensity that surprises everyone because they're releasing weeks or months of stored-up fairness violations.
Because everyone else thought everything was fine, while the FSSN has been building a Supreme Court case in their head for 3 weeks.
Precisely. And that explosion can damage the very relationships they were trying to protect.
Let's talk about how this plays out socially. In friendships and family, the report says they have a strong sense of fairness.
They are the translator and advocate of the friend group. They are the glue. If two friends are fighting, the FSSN is the one shuttling back and forth trying to make them understand each other. He didn't mean it that way, or she's just stressed.
But there is a risk there, too.
The risk is becoming a permanent buffer.
A permanent buffer? That sounds draining.
It is. The report notes that they spend so much time mediating and coordinating that they forget what they want. Relationships stop being private connections and start becoming cases to solve.
You become the UN peacekeeper of your family, but nobody asks how the peacekeeper is doing.
And you lose your own identity in the process of defending everyone else's.
Let's pivot to the workplace. Because while this might be exhausting in a family, in a business context, this skill set is gold.
Absolute gold. The report identifies their corporate superpower as emotional and sentiment detection plus conflict humanization.
Conflict humanization, I really love that term.
In high-stress environments, communication gets distorted. People become numbers. Complaints are seen as noise. The FSSN helps companies convert complaints into needs.
Right. Instead of this customer is annoying, it becomes this customer feels undervalued because our process failed here.
They turn misunderstandings into discussable facts. They force systems to respond to people, not just process results. They humanize the data.
So where should these people work? If you are an FSSN, what career path plays to these strengths without burning you out?
The report had some great recommendations. First, obviously, relationship coordination and conflict mediation. Bringing opposition back to dialogue is their bread and butter.
That makes perfect sense. They are natural mediators.
Then there is employee relations and HR. But specifically, managing grievance channels, ensuring voices are heard and organized.
They would be the HR person you actually want to talk to.
Exactly. Also, counseling and social work rights, support and advocating for the disadvantaged. And interestingly, organizational culture.
Promoting more humane systems.
Yes. And finally, narrative and interview expression. Writing or speaking about the people behind the numbers, telling the stories that aren't being told.
That goes back to the translator role, giving a clear voice to the experience.
It is the ultimate manifestation of their energy.
So we have covered the mechanics, the strengths, and the traps. What is the big takeaway here? If you are an empathic advocate or you love one, what is the wisdom to live by?
It comes down to boundaries. The report is very clear on this. The FSSN is powerful, but they have a fatal flaw. They often jump into battle without checking if the victim actually wants a war.
Right. Don't go to war if the victim just wanted a hug.
Exactly. You need to confirm before combat.
There is a beautiful gold sentence in the conclusion of this report. I would love for you to read that for us.
This is from Yang Li. It sums it up perfectly. When empathic advocates learn to first confirm what the affected person wants before deciding how to speak up, and also learn to preserve boundaries and recovery for themselves while guarding others, they become more than emotional spokespersons. They become the driving force that makes fairness and respect sustainable.
Sustainable fairness, that is the key. You cannot burn yourself out trying to fix the world in one day.
No. You have to preserve your own energy so you can keep advocating for the long haul. The world needs the radar, but the radar needs a battery.
This has been such a fascinating look into the mind of the FSSN. It really makes you appreciate those people in meetings who raise their hand and say, hey, wait a minute, I don't think we heard what Sarah was trying to say.
They are the glue holding the social fabric together.
It makes you wonder, what invisible grievance are you carrying right now that just needs a translator? And who in your life could you be that translator for tomorrow?
That is a great question to leave on.
A huge thank you to the Max Energy ME80 personality assessment for this report. If this deep dive resonated with you, maybe you recognized yourself or your partner or that colleague, and you want to learn more about your own profile or the system, you should check them out.
You can visit their official website at www.maxenergylife.com.
Or if you are on Facebook, you can search for their pages, look for Max Energy Personality Study.
Or you can search for Energy Personality Psychology.
There is a whole world of energy dynamics to explore there. It is not just about personality, it is about how you run your engine.
Absolutely.
As you go about your week, keep an eye out for the translators. The ones who are listening not just to the words, but to the silence underneath them.
They are the ones making sure we all stay human.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We will catch you on the next one.